Good, good. Okay, questions for Coach Lesley? John?
I got to start it.
Yep.
We're back on the good side now. You played that, you had that streak there. I think there was, 4 possessions. They had like 18 yards. So you're back on the good side.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, wasn't a whole lot of flash plays, honestly, but I think it's one of the better total football games that we've played. And I know, there toward the end, we rotated some guys in, and it probably doesn't look like that from the outside. But watching the video with the first half and, there in the third quarter, I thought it was one of the more complete, good fundamentals, good run fits, good, playing with good leverage, pad and hand leverage. What their scheme, I said this last week, we're really familiar with it going back with Coach Satterfield's days at App State. And it's hard, man. There's a lot of ways they can get leverage on you and get your leverage going one way and bend their plays back the other way with misdirection. I thought our guys handled it really well. I think we held them well below their average of rushing. And I don't know if I said this to you guys last week, but said this to our players going in the game. It's really, their statistics were really misleading in a lot of ways. Thought they were really, they were better than their record, but their offensive statistics were really good in a lot of areas that really didn't match up with being 3-7. So I thought our guys did a really good job against their strength.
4 straight 200-yard rushing games coming in, and you held them considerably below that.
I think 140, I think is what it was.
Whatever it was, yeah. Were you surprised that they came out with the other quarterback and then they kept kind of going between them? Did that catch you off guard a little bit?
No, they had been doing that since probably 3 games ago. Had been rotating guys in. For what reason? Don't know. That's a them question. But we were expecting that. I did not know that 16 was going to start.
Right, yeah.
But we were familiar with his game. We studied his game for the majority of the week just because we knew we were going to see him probably at second series, or I figured they would go every other series with him. Probably would have seen him more, but I think he dinged his ankle on the Q draw in the red zone there, and they pulled him out. So probably would have seen a lot more of him.
One more here. Flip around to this week. Heat could be an issue. You go into it thinking, I've got to play more guys with the potential of heat down there.
This time of year, maybe it's a little warmer, seasonally warmer than it is, but it ain't gonna be no hotter than UCF. So, and we,
7 o'clock at night too. So
yeah,
that's,
it's not. I don't think it's much of an issue.
I was wondering if you could tell us about Day Day a little bit, because we've never met him, but in every video it seems like he's having the time of his life, dancing or. I mean, just other than a football player, what's he like?
I mean, and what he brings is a ton of energy, and Day Day's he's a big personality, and I think that's important. I think it's important to have, especially defensively. I mean, the guy, his energy hardly ever changes, and he's always he's just as excited to practice as he is to play. And man, that brings a lot to the table. Brings a lot to the sideline, and particularly when things are going good, when things are going bad. And Day Day's that is that type of guy. Just like I said, big personality, and that never changes. He's constant, and whether it's pregame or the walkthrough we just got out of. He's the same guy all the time, and is a high energy, high juice guy. And, brings a lot, picks us up. But a lot of fun to be around. I love having players like that around.
Study the tape. You do, obviously, but from afar it looks like Ben Cutter is growing before our eyes. Is that what you're seeing when you evaluate him?
Yeah, I mean, I think for him is, obviously you feel what you know what you're getting through the evaluation process in recruiting, which is a guy that plays hard, is extremely physical, has a motor that runs hot and runs all the time. And I think a lot of that but you still know there's a lot you're going to have to teach, whether it's the leverage, the hand placement, your footwork, your keys, and how that's so much different from where he was playing 12 months ago. And that's really, really hard on a true freshman. And any criticism of Ben throughout this process is 100% not fair. That's a lot on a freshman. And that's a true freshman out there at your starting Mike linebacker, which is a position that, in my opinion, is just vital to the success of a defense. And he's been handed that role. He earned that. I say been handed. He earned that role through practice and preparation. It was probably thrown on him before he was ready, but the growth over the last 4 to 5 weeks has been tremendous to watch. Ben Cutter's going to play a lot of ball here, and he's going to have a really good career here. And he's a guy that he's fun to coach. He's more critical of himself than Jeff and I or Neil is, and that's important. But it's been fun to watch him grow, and he played. I think the best part of his game the other day was how he fit the run, and it's not going to show up on a stat sheet, but where he fit, how he fit. He really saved us on. There was one play they really had us on. We adjusted at halftime. A little wind back, what we call an insert play, where the fullback comes back. We did not play it right off the motion, and he defeated the block and made the tackle. If he stays on that block, which he probably would have 3 or 4 weeks ago, that play goes for a ways. So, his growth is definitely something that's exciting.
We talked with Neil about the ball hawk rate stat and you guys leading the country, but then also how that could mean you're missing interceptions and missing turnovers. And he did bring up that being one point of the defense that could have been improved against Cincinnati. What are you noticing about maybe why those takeaways and interceptions and things like that are not happening as much the last couple of weeks as comparison to where they were? He mentioned, leaving your feet, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things that go into
I know there's a lot involved too.
Yeah, I mean, it's the simplest one is catch the ball. Catch the ball. But there's there's a couple plays in there where we're in a zone defense and guys I think there's 2 where they break essentially on the route instead of the ball. So they end up at the point of contact. They make the play. It's incomplete, and it's a good play, but it could have been a great play. So there's tons of things that go into that. Whether and just like anything else, if you do jump, it's when you time your jump. Did you need to jump? There's all kinds of things that go into that. All you can do is continue to practice it, and we go through ball drills and every day at practice. And but there's if there's a specific one you ask about, I could probably give you a better answer. But there's a couple in there that I think were breaks that were on the route instead of the ball. This is the easiest answer to give you.
You mentioned Ben's ability to fit the run against Cincinnati. Neil was crediting Jared Bartlett, saying he did a good job of that. Can you just give us your impressions of what you saw against him in Cincinnati? Is that kind of that whole doing your 111th part?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing with Ben that I talked about. Just really in a different, a little bit different light, being up on the ball most of the time and on the edge, especially against an outside zone stretch team that's going to try to push you and then cut. And Jared probably played the best football game, honestly, since he's been here. And I know everybody always goes back to, having a 3-sack game at Virginia Tech a couple years ago and those things. And there's nothing to take away from those games. But when you talk about a complete football game as an edge defender, just doing your job, I take the first stretch of the game that goes for about 4 yards, and he does a really he essentially plays 2 gaps. He forces the ball back and he overlaps the play, makes a tackle for a gain of 4. And that's not something, again, I said this at the beginning, that's not something that's going to be flashy or people are going to look at and say, oh, that's a great play. But if he doesn't do that, again, that play hits us for a big run. And he does it about 6 or 7 other times throughout the day. that are just routine plays. And one of our messages has always been to our guys is, you know, everybody always wants to make the 3 or 4 plays that are going to flash, or they're going to be on highlights, or they're going to be at the end of the night on ESPN that people are going to talk about. But if you take an 80-play game, there's 75 other routine plays. Those are the ones that win you the game that nobody talks about. And Jared had a ton of those, more than he's had all year, that he's just simply doing his job and the fundamental that he's taught to do it and executing that, even when things are moving fast. And I thought it was the best football game he's played.
Number one concern with Baylor.
You know, I mean, they do a really, really nice job. It's very similar schematically to what we just saw, but they give you more moving pieces pre-snap to that. A lot of shifts, a lot of motions, changing the formation, changing the strength of the formation, moving the back, just doing the same, running their offense, just presenting it a lot of different ways, which can get your eyes in some bad places. And then I think the tight ends, you know, their tight ends are they're threats. They were, you know, the 89 I think is the one kid last year that really gave us some issues. Is a big athlete, can line up anywhere across the field, and hurt you. Can line up in the slot, can line up on the ball, can line up even at the one receiver. And I think the quarterback's really good. I think Chapin is a really good player.
I haven't studied the stats closely. Are they doing a high number of 4th downs? And
Oh,
are they
yeah.
doing them in strange places?
Yeah, I mean, if it's across the minus, which is you know, their end of the field, if it's across about the minus 35 or 40, you're playing however you want to look at it. 2 second downs, 2 first downs. You're going to play more than likely 4 downs if the distance is manageable. So, and I think that's been their tendency for since Coach Aranda's been there.
Sometimes minus 20.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't. We're always you're playing these guys. Even going back to last year, we prepared our kids for it all over the field.
So you got to win first and second down to try to get that to 3rd or 4th and long. But
Oh, yeah.
That's the deal with
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah. If you and like I said, I mean, it's however you view it. Whether you're playing, you want to approach it like you're playing 2 first downs, and you know, one's a run tendency or one's a pass tendency. And I'm just using that as an example, not that that's theirs, but or you're playing 2 second downs where you get a good first down, and that next down, no matter what, usually the distance, if it's short, you say, all right, guys, this is a waste down. They can take a shot here. Theirs doesn't matter. It could be 2nd 12, and that's essentially a waste down. So you're going to play another 2nd down next, and your 3rd down's a 4th down, just however you want to view it, you know.
And then I think you throw in the other variable in here is this is their last game.
Mm-hmm.
So that could open up a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, teams and like this and those situations are extremely dangerous, you know, and you know, we just have to go and execute and do the things that we've done when we played our best. But it is, you know, it's always, you know, one of those, you know, why wouldn't they? Kind of correct. You know, so you got to prepare for that going in.
One band last week, right? I think James played 1 snap, maybe something like that.
Tor Simmons played.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say, how'd you supplement that? Did you? Because I saw him out there on the line. I figured that was the fix. Just get him in.
Yeah,
Okay. It's a good timing for Jared to have that game, though.
yeah, it was.
Okay, anything else?
You mentioned Cincinnati with their stats, and then you're confusingly through it. Is it like that all with Chapin? Because you watch him play and you look at his numbers and they're really good, but then it's like, why do they only have 3 wins?
I mean, there's a tons of factors that there's more than statistics that go into winning a football game. You know, it's just, you know, that's the only way I really know how to put it. You know, whether it's special teams plays, whether it's you know, how the defense is, just all kinds of situational things that go into. You know, I just look at preparing for an offense. You know, you look at the statistics to determine where they're good, and then those are the things you really have to focus stop. In Cincinnati, for example, they're good at running the football. You know, go back to UCF. You know, I think UCF at the time we played them was somewhere around between 240 and 260 a game rushing, and we hold them to 180, which is not necessarily a good number, but it's well below their average. You know, so I'm happy at the end of that because of what we were able to do that day. Now, the overall stat doesn't look good. You know, everybody's going to say, well, why can't you stop the run? Well, okay. If they give up 260, that they give up their average, they probably would have won the game. Held them to below their average, win the game. That's all. The only stat that matters is the win and loss at the end. So there's all kinds of things that go into that. You know, I'm not deep enough into Baylor yet to know whether it's what the issue is. But you just go off the stats and the players. You know, the tight ends are extremely dangerous. Running back, even going back to last year, the Reese kid has dangerous speed. And then I think the quarterback is probably one of the most underrated in our league. You know, this is the same kid that when Baylor won the Big 12, come in and the Sugar Bowl and won the game. You know, same guy. You know, that guy doesn't really change. And so, you know where they're good, and you prepare. That's what you have to stop.
You have sympathy for opposing defensive coordinators who see Garrett Green put the ball in the White's belly and don't know where it's going to wind up.
No. No.
Get your own problem.
Yeah, that's right. No, I don't. Nobody has sympathy for me. Zero blitz in Oklahoma and watching him not get there either. So, absolutely not.